Hi guys and welcome back to Movies That Matter with the Viking. Some weird, interesting news came out yesterday from the Hollywood Reporter. Jamie Foxx returning as Electro in Spider-Man 3. Now, not for the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man 3, but for the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man 3. This is weird. The last time we got to see Jamie Foxx as the character was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It did well at the box office, but critically it didn't do that well, and that was the last outing for Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Overall, the film wasn't that great. It had some good special effects, some good action, but overall, it just didn't pay off. And I think the weakest point of the film, for me personally, was Jamie Foxx as Electro. I think it was poorly written. It didn't execute maybe the way that they thought. And that was the end for Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland took over for Civil War, and he is the new Spider-Man for Sony and for the MCU. But a lot of rumours, a lot of speculation over the last few months that Marvel is going in the direction of a multiverse per se and introducing old characters from outside the MCU and some characters that maybe were in the casting process for a certain character but didn't happen in the end, that they might come back and play that character. There's talks of Ed Norton coming back, talk of Tom Cruise taking over as Iron Man. Different actors like that, which will be interesting to see how they do it. Now, I think the next couple of projects for Marvel are very, very interesting. We've got the Scarlet Witch project, which comes out in later this year. Then we've got Doctor Strange 2, directed by the old Spider-Man trilogy man, Sam Raimi. And then this Spider-Man 3. I think what they're going for in live action terms is a Spider-Verse. And I think anything is possible. I think Tobey Maguire coming back as Spider-Man is a big possibility. I think Andrew Garfield, if he wants to come back, is a big possibility because, you know, you got J.K. Simmons. He came back to the role of Jonah Jameson for Far From Home, which was a surprise. But many people thought that was just like a nod, a wink, you know, like just a cameo, pleasing fans. But maybe it's more than that. If Jamie Foxx from the Garfield universe is able to come into the MCU, if J.K. Simmons is able to come in from the Sam Raimi universe, then what else could happen in this Spider-Verse? Now, we have Venom 2 coming as well. Who's going to pop up in that? What way is that going to link in with the other MCU films, and particularly Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Maybe Tobey Maguire might show up in Venom 2. Maybe Andrew Garfield could show up. But for me, I'm not completely against this idea. Now, Jamie Foxx was poor in the role, but Jamie Foxx is an unbelievable actor, and given a second crack at this, could he do something special? I think with the right material, I think Kevin Feige knows probably how to write this character, how to make this character likable again. I think he is in good hands with the MCU. Now, you know that I didn't like when Sony Sony gave Marvel the kind of the rights to Spider-Man. I didn't really like that because I liked them doing their own thing outside the MCU because we want to get more films, get different kind of incarnations of characters and stuff like that. But anyway, it seems to be like they're giving Spider-Man to a degree to the MCU, but they're also trying to do their own thing with the Into the Spider-Verse animated film, which was very, very good. The Venom 2, Morbius as well. So, all in all, this Spider-Verse is low-key building up to be something quite interesting for Marvel and for the Spider-Man universe. You know, if you got Morbius coming next year with Jared Leto, and we got to see Vulture appear in the trailer for that, of course, played by Michael Keaton, who was the Vulture in Homecoming. So that got people thinking, is this tying into the MCU? Venom 2, lots of rumours that Spider-Man in some capacity could appear in that. I'm very interested in that film. But all in all, the MCU Sony verse of Spider-Man is getting very interesting, but also kind of weird. So how far is this willing to go? Spider-Man 3 is supposed to come out in 2021. Of course, that all depends on shooting and COVID and theaters and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, their plan is to do Spider-Man 3. And at the end of Far From Home, Spider-Man is kind of exposed to a degree. So how does this all play into the film? Doctor Strange 2 was going to introduce a lot of characters, and there's talks that Sam Raimi could persuade Tobey Maguire to come back maybe for that film. But I also think it's going to be linked together with 3 films. I think Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness, I think the Scarlet Witch and Vision show, WandaVision, can play into this. I think those 2 projects will have huge elements on Spider-Man 3 and this kind of Spider-Verse happening. I think the animated film Into the Spider-Verse wasn't a global hit in terms of money, but critically, it was very, very well received. whoever watched it liked it, and it's very well made, very very good film. And I think they see a possibility of doing this in a live action form, having Venom, having Tom Holland's Spider-Man, having Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, having Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, having Morbius, Vulture. Who else could appear from the Spider-Man movies in general? Could we see Green Goblin return? Could we see, you never really know what could happen because anything is possible. If Tom Cruise could appear as Iron Man, which is also another rumor, then anything could actually happen. And I'm excited for this. I really, really am, to see all these different characters from different backgrounds, from different director visions come together in some capacity. Look, if Tobey Maguire comes back as Spider-Man for even 5 seconds, then I'll be happy because he's my favourite Spider-Man. I'd love to see him come back. He should have got a number 4. And Andrew Garfield probably should have got a number 3. And Tom Holland gets a lot of shit because he's not those two. And stuff like that. But I think Tom Holland with the right material can be a great Spider-Man. He just needs that right material. But maybe this is a way of giving payoff to all fans of the character. Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi should have been given a shot at number 4. Andrew Garfield should have been allowed to finish his trilogy. And maybe incorporating all those things into one, Spider-Man 3 could be the proper thing for all of these actors and characters. Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire was not great. Maybe this is his chance to make a good Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 could be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 3. And then also Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. I'm excited for this. I'm not a big fan of Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But at the end of the day, if Jamie Foxx gets another crack at the character, if it opens up this world, if we get a Spider-Verse, at the end of the day, that would be pretty cool. And that's a risk, and that's an interesting risk for Sony and Marvel to take. And I'm all about risks, and I'm all for this. This might be a disaster. It might not work out. It might be a complete mess. But we have gotten, 7, 8 Spider-Man films, Venom, animated films. There's only so many times you can have Spider-Man realising his powers, dealing with his powers, going up against a villain, beating the villain, blah 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 blah, happy ending. There's so many times you can do that. So with them doing this, introducing characters from Mark Webb's Spider-Man, from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, from the MCU Spider-Man, and outside of these worlds, then that's a big risk for them to take. Absolutely, but I'm all for it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Jamie Foxx coming in to Spider-Man 3. Very weird, but also very interesting. Give a like, comment, and subscribe.